Let's just dive right into this explainer by picturing a scenario we honestly all know way too well. You're just scrolling through your feed, minding your own business, when suddenly, boom, you see it. An online comment so wildly inaccurate, so painfully ignorant, that your fingers just instinctively fly to the keyboard. You are absolutely ready to unleash the caps lock. Your heart rate spikes, your focus narrows, and you're instantly prepped to launch a massive digital counterattack.
So you're ready to go to war, right? Well, hold on a second. Before you launch that attack, you have to realize that you are actually walking straight into an intellectual ambush. Seriously, you are stepping onto a modern, digital battlefield guided entirely by your biological savanna survival instincts. I mean, these are instincts designed to help you sprint away from physical predators, not to successfully navigate complex arguments in a comment section.
Which brings us to Section 1, the intellectual ambush and the brain's lazy autopilot.
To understand exactly why we fall for this trap time and time again, we have to look at the harsh biological reality of our brains, because we're actually fighting a fundamental hardware issue here. Now, here's the wild part. Even though your brain makes up only about 2% of your total body weight, it consumes an astonishing 20% of your body's total energy. Because of that massive energy drain, your brain is quite literally designed to be lazy. It is forced to rely on automated patterns and quick mental shortcuts just to conserve power, rather than engaging in careful, deliberate analysis every single time you see something new online.
So, when you stumble into an internet fight, you experience what psychologists actually call an emotional hijacking. The pressure of a heated debate triggers those primitive survival instincts we talked about. Suddenly, your nervous system is just completely flooded with stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline. And what does that actually do? Well, it immediately impairs your working memory and drastically reduces your cognitive flexibility. You are instantly shifted away from strategic thinking and dumped straight onto mental autopilot.
Actually, let me interrupt this pattern for a second to ask you a brutally honest question. Have you ever spent your precious free time doom scrolling, actively seeking out controversial stuff that makes you mad just for the dopamine? Like, have you ever let the algorithm totally manipulate your mood just for that rush of instant gratification? Because if you have, you are experiencing that cognitive autopilot in real time.
Let's move right along to Section 2, traps of disingenuous debaters and how they weaponize your emotions.
Okay, so let's look at how this biological vulnerability plays out in the wild. Manipulative internet debaters deliberately exploit this reactive state to totally bypass your critical thinking, and they usually use two distinct traps to do it. First, they try making you as angry as humanly possible. Because let's face it, when you're fuming, it's incredibly hard to systematically refute their points. You drift off topic, you become incoherent, and you make really foolish mistakes. But if they can't make you angry, they'll completely shift tactics. They'll try to baffle you. They throw this intellectual word salad your way, basically dressing up complete nonsense in the finery of academic language and technical jargon, just so it looks like unparalleled brilliance to an uninformed observer.
Now, if you react to these traps while you're still emotionally hijacked, you are literally just handing them the weapons they need to defeat you. Reacting emotionally arms your opponent. It gives them the exact evidence they want to use against you, and it reduces your entire strategy to raw, illogical emotion. You are essentially fighting a war of logic while completely unarmed.
And this perfectly illustrates the total absurdity of the whole situation. Get this. A recent UNESCO study shows that a staggering 62% of content creators admit they don't even confirm the accuracy of what they share. I mean, almost a third of them share information without any validation whatsoever, just as long as it comes from a source they happen to trust. So, to put that into perspective, you're out there raising your blood pressure and burning your extremely limited cognitive energy on completely unvalidated claims.
So, how do we fix this? That brings us to Section 3. The OODA Loop protocol for overriding your mental autopilot.
To stop reacting and start actually winning, we need to deploy a strategic framework that was originally designed for elite fighter pilots by Air Force strategist John Boyd. It's called the OODA Loop. It's a rapid cycle framework that stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. And it is explicitly designed to help you maintain your cognitive function under extreme emotional pressure, allowing you to continuously outmaneuver aggressive opponents. Let's break down exactly how you can apply this to your very next digital standoff. Under pressure, your very first move is step 1, observe. You have to systematically observe the situation before you type a single word. This means creating internal trigger recognition systems. Basically, these are mental alerts that tell you, hey, I'm experiencing a strong emotional reaction right now, and I'm operating on that lazy autopilot we talked about earlier. You absolutely have to recognize the troll's tactics before you ever engage. Once you've done that, you move to step 2, orient. You must orient yourself using cognitive control. This is where you consciously choose a deliberate thinking strategy over your primitive instincts. So instead of letting adrenaline dictate your next move, you take a breath, clearly understand the context of the situation, and realign yourself with your actual goals. And you do this by asking yourself 2 highly specific questions. Why am I arguing? And is this actually worth my time? Answering these questions immediately clarifies your objectives. It gives you a realistic view of the digital battlefield you're currently standing on, pulling you right out of that emotional hijack and grounding you firmly back in logic.
Okay, so once you are fully oriented, you enter step 3, decide. Now the key here is to not let the social media algorithm dictate your pace. Because the algorithm, it desperately wants you to rush blindly into action. Instead, you need to decide on a course of action carefully. This framework prevents you from rushing in without thinking, sure, but it also keeps the cycle moving so you don't get bogged down in endless analysis paralysis.
Let's move to section 4, the ultimate cheat code for surviving the internet. We need to slow things down for a second to discuss a critical component of that decision phase we just talked about. They say the most powerful decision is deferring the decision. And honestly, this is your ultimate psychological cheat code. Not every single inflammatory comment or urgent notification requires an immediate response from you. Sometimes, recognizing when to just walk away and defer the decision entirely is the smartest thing you can possibly do. It lets that artificial urgency completely subside, completely depriving the bad faith actor of the reaction they so desperately crave. But if you do decide that engagement is actually worth your time, you move to step 4, act. Once you've navigated the emotional traps, observed their tactics, and oriented your logic, you act decisively. But remember, this is a loop. It doesn't just end with one single action. You have to remain ready to immediately restart the entire cycle. Observe, orient, decide, act. The very second the conditions of the argument change. Because a genuine master of debate uses this exact military precision to prevent the digital matrix from hijacking their nervous system. When you apply this protocol, you totally override your mental autopilot. You strip manipulative arguers of their absolute greatest weapon, which is your own unmanaged emotions, and you effectively upgrade your entire mental operating system for any future conflicts. So I want to leave you with this final thought today. The next time you find yourself just completely enraged by a comment online, what are you going to do? Are you going to fall into the biological trap and let your primitive instincts take the wheel? Or will you control your loop, deploy the OODA strategy, and navigate the noise with absolute precision? The choice is entirely yours. Keep this framework in your back pocket, stay sharp out there, and I will see you in our next explainer.